Hello, Laura.
Hey, Tina.
Laura, I'm happy to talk to you about your installation in our exhibition. And there we show just a few parts of your very comprehensive work, Ríos Trilogy. It is based on your artistic research on the Amazon region that you pursued in the past 5 years, and you have just been completing this project with part 3. Could you tell us how you became interested in the region and why you wanted to do a work on it?
Okay, yeah. Well, this trilogy started with a hashtag that I saw online that is the hashtag Amazon Fires. It was in 2018 when I saw it for the first time and I started researching what was going on in the Amazon and I started following this hashtag on social media. And I was impressed how the hashtag very easily disappeared and in between a fight between Macron and Bolsonaro, and it just vanished. Well, the Amazon kept on burning. And so I started researching on the region and on the complex situation of the Amazon. That is the biggest rainforest of the world that extends over 7.8 million square kilometers, and that is home for millions of people. And yeah, it's the most biodiverse place in planet Earth. And in the context of climate change, where we are actually, the Amazon rainforest is a key place for the not only for the purpose that it serves to the planet, but also because of the biodiversity it hosts.
And how
So
did you approach this complex, big topic?
yeah, well, it's this project has a view on the territory that is always like an external view. It's very much focused on how Western societies and or societies that have access to the internet and to social media connect to the territory of the Amazon, and what is this relationship that we've created in history of colonialization regarding the territory, but also like how is it viewed nowadays from the point of view of geopolitics.
And this has resulted in Rios 1, right?
Yeah, so the first chapter of the trilogy is an online application that everybody can consult, where you have, there's a mapping of hashtags and co-occurrences of hashtags that happen in real time related to the territory of the Amazon. So it's like a research tool that I created in order to understand how we connect through words and through linguistic to the territory of the Amazon. And that gave place to the second chapter where I started developing a series of sculptures that are 3D printed using clay that are based on the 3D reproductions of the topography of the Amazon, and where I do specific interventions in the places where I know that there are environmental and social threats. And I know this data because I'm using a GIS information that is established by the RISE, which is the Amazonian network of georeference information that has published a series of data related to specific environmental problematics. And this data is also, let's say, of free use. So I do interventions on the topography of the Amazon based on this data and also based on linguistic data, which gives place to some sort of sculptures that register specific moments of the Amazon in this moment where we are right now.
Yeah, and this is also a part of Rios which the visitors see in the exhibition, right?
Yeah. So what the visitors see in the exhibition is more based on chapter number 3, which is reverse. And reverse, well, it's a VR project that, of course, is linked to the previous chapters. And in reverse, what I did is that I expanded much more further. I let the user go much more deeper into the environmental and social problematics related to the territory of the Amazon by displaying the different layers that constitute these problematics. And so that's what we are presented in the virtual exhibition is an adaptation of the VR project where people can interact with these different layers and understand the complexity of the territory.
That's an interesting point, because if I remember correctly, Rios 2 consists of sculptures of parts of the territories. And I can imagine, well, it's a guess I'm asking, if what is the difference between installing these projects in a physical space and now, or in VR, and also now in our show in virtual reality? What are like possibilities and challenges of these different worlds and realms?
Yeah, it's been challenging from different points of view because I'm basically all the time dealing with the same sort of data, just that I'm using the data in different ways. So the sculptures, they are fixed objects, and that's why I think of them like an archive, like a sculpture archives a moment, because everything is like stopped in time. The data that was applied onto the sculptures, they are stopped in time. By the way, to create them, I defined a date where I made a timestamp, and that day the sculpture was like the 3D model was closure.
Yeah.
But both for the VR project and for the virtual exhibition, the data is the data that I have until the date. That the user can really explore in a much more conscious way. Where are the zones where there's been fires? Where are the zones where there's extraction of oil or minerals? How is the deforestation advancing? Etc. Like the user can really explore in depth. And I think that creates a sort of like living matter that sculptures don't have. It's very interesting in that sense.
Yeah, that's true. Well, and when you saw, I mean, you evaluated the data and then it became visible basically on the surface of the map at some point. What did you think about the devastations of fire, of erosion, of like the things you're addressing in the different points? Were you surprised? Were you like angry? How did you feel when you saw the degree of devastation?
Yeah, it's extremely complicated, and also knowing that the data that is there is as accurate as it can be. And of course, I was speaking with somebody from the RISE recently, and he explained me like all the process or how they have advanced in the marketing process of this data as technology has advanced, because they started 10 years ago. And now, for example, they can easily see through the clouds. That's something that they couldn't before in order to really establish more precise data. That, yeah, the situation is very critical. And the proposal, for example, the COICA, that is the organism of indigenous peoples for the Amazon basin, they launched a campaign that is called 80 times 25, which means protecting 80% of the Amazon for 2025. That's in 1 year and a half. And for that, it will require like a huge effort of basically the world to understand what are the changes that need to be done. And that means starting with a mind shift where the Amazon cannot keep on being seen as a territory able to provide infinite natural resources to the rest of the world. That's let's say if we want to see the territory from the point of view of its utility, the utility that this territory can give to the planet is to just be preserved, because it captures enormous amounts of it produces rainwater, etc. So what really needs to change is this way where we look at the Amazon, and it has to happen now. Basically, there's no time to lose.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think your project gives such a great voice to this region, and probably renders it aware to many people in many exhibitions in the future. I mean, you just started exhibiting a full project. Yeah, maybe we can also talk about the Reverse 3, which is the Reverse, which is the third part, which you just finished, and which are both our background images, if I remember correctly. Maybe you can talk a little about the specific virtual reality piece that you just finished.
Yeah, well, Reverse, it's an animation, documentary, and interactive project. It has like 3 components, and it starts with a long path along the river where the problematics of the territory are introduced, but also something that is very important because we tend to think of the Amazon about, well, from the point of view of the biodiversity that it hosts, but sometimes we miss the point about the life, the people that are living in the Amazon. So under over the surface of the water, we have the names of the indigenous peoples that start appearing, and it's an introduction to these cultures and these people that have inhabited this territory for more than 20,000 years. Then afterwards, these parts, there's a very documentary part that explains with the stock images, with actual footage, the real situation. Let's say we really see it from different points of view. And then there's the interactive map where people can interact with different pictures. And one of them that I really like is the possibility to visualize the indigenous territories and the names of the indigenous people. And then, yeah, you have all the different socio-environmental layers that people interact with in VR by rotating on a rotor picture that I created. And then basically they go back to the river, and that's kind of it.
Yeah, and I mean, it's this part particularly takes place in virtual reality. We show in the exhibition videos of it, but not as the 60 versions, as video screens. But why did you choose the medium of virtual reality to finish your project with that?
In my work, I like a lot to work with immersiveness and to create really like places, whether physical or in this case virtual, that the spectator can travel to, and that holds the spectator on the framework of an experience. And it demands also from the spectator some engagement, because the spectator has to put itself in an active position. And that's something that I think is important also when you're talking about environmental and social subjects, is to place the spectator in an active position so that there can be a conversation between the work and the person that is watching it. So I thought that VR fits, in this case, purposes of the project.
Yes, sounds very good and relates, of course, also to my intention with our exhibition, where the user has to immerse in the space and interact with your work or with the works in the exhibition. How will you continue exhibiting the different parts of Rios in the future? And will you also consider mix of virtual and physical exhibitions for Rios?
Yeah, of course. I will definitely consider both, and I conceive this project in a way that it is modular, and also thinking like, okay, how can I make a project that can travel lights, and that I don't need to eventually show 21 sculptures, but with showing one sculpture and the VR project or the app that is anyway online, to be able to so that the project can travel lights and not have to spend lots of money in transport. So ideally, mix between physical and virtual, I think it works really well for this project, and it's actually in the core of the conception of the trilogy.
Yes, sounds great. And are there already upcoming shows you can already talk about?
Yeah, there's an upcoming show in September in Belgium, and it's called Capture number 23, and it's gonna be also in the context of the HIC Festival in Namur.
Sounds great. Perfect. Laura, you have the last words. Is there anything you want to add about your project?
I would say take the time to watch the videos. There's one that is a little bit long, it's 8 minutes, but I think it's worth listening to the text. One of the things that I like the most to do doing my work is writing, and I think this text is it's nice and it's worth listening to it. So yeah, enjoy it.
It's definitely worth. Thank you so much, Laura, for this conversation.
Thank you, Tina.